Well, Mason, you just got back from Nebraska. How did that trip go?
Uh, not as good as I had hoped for, but it was a very good learning experience. I was glad to spend some time in a new state and kind of fiddle around, and we got to see a couple bucks. Most of the big deer we saw, bigger deer, were actually on the last day that I was hunting. So we ended up finding them, but took a little bit to figure out the property and their movements, and kind of my first time hunting whitetail, and just in that kind of country. I mean, dude, it's so open. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
What did you? Now, obviously, never hunting Nebraska, uh, and I'm assuming probably never hunting that flat of terrain. Uh, what were some of the things that you were obviously that you felt like you were struggling on, and then other things that you felt like you had going for you?
Well, definitely the struggle thing was is there was a little bit of a minimum requirement for the size of the deer, and so it was a 3x3, which I mean to most people like myself, like I'm like, oh yeah, 3x3, that makes sense. Well, it was a little bit harder than I would have thought on that property. I mean, we were on about 8,000 acres, and apparently it was not very hunted. And so had high hopes for the property and my hunt experience. But we kind of quickly learned on day one, like, well, let me kind of go back a little bit. We started out, on our long drive, like the day after Thanksgiving. We got there on Saturday night, so it took about 2 days worth of driving to get out there, and we get up early in the morning on Sunday and do like a full day of scouting, and it's -9 with wind chill. It was
Ooh,
extremely cold. I've never been in that kind of cold before,
you don't get
but
warm in that temperature.
you get warm in the truck. So that's what we ended up taking. I drove I pulled the trailer with the side by side all the way out there, and we we pulled that thing off the trailer, and we were like, all right, sweet. Like I checked it, it started up fine that night and the night before, and then that next morning, man, it was so cold. Like there was no starting that thing. So we ended up taking the truck the next morning. Thank goodness. I mean, heated seats, heated steering wheel, just cranking the heat. And it felt like, I think it said like a -12 or 15 with the wind. And,
Oh wow.
but the deer were everywhere that morning. I mean, we were like, from the house, we're like, oh, there's a buck, there's a buck, there's a buck, there's a buck. And it got us super excited, but we could tell they were small bucks chasing does. So that kind of got our hopes up a little too early. And then as we started to investigate more and more throughout that day, I mean, we none of them were 3x3s. We saw one 3x3 out of like probably like 12 bucks or something like that. And we started to like figure out there wasn't as many deer as what you would expect. I mean, there were a couple pivots on the property, so we had alfalfa growing. We had running creeks and river access. We had all this stuff that was like prime, what you would think. And man, dude, the deer herd is struggling, and we figured out why that is after about day 2 to 3. We were counting more coyotes than we were deer. It was incredible, incredible, and I guess that's just like it just shows how devastating those coyotes can be. I mean, those coyotes are way bigger than ours. Those are
Right.
like what we would think of like as wolves. I mean, those things are huge out there. But man, every time you see a deer, coyote was right there chasing it.
That's a bummer deal.
Yeah.
Now, was your tag only good for private, or could you have gone to public?
I could have done both. So I could do public or private land. It was a statewide muzzleloader tag.
So when you were there, like obviously, you just didn't see the age class. Um, was there any point that you thought maybe you should have maybe left the private and went to public? Was there public around where you were at?
No, there wasn't any public land around us.
Hmm.
So that was going to make it kind of hard, especially because I mean the house that we were staying at was fairly nice. I mean it had everything that we needed: heating, comfortable beds, running water. Everything was all set up for us. So I I didn't really want to leave that, and that driveway was pretty long to get into. I mean it was not just the driveway, but just the roads into it. I mean it was a good 20-30 minutes to get onto the main road. And so, I mean, what are we going to drive like an hour and a half, 2 hours every day in the morning and at night to go hunt on public lands? Like, that's tough. That's a
Yeah, I
lot
know.
of
Like
driving.
I've done that before. Like going to Montana. Uh, you know, back in the day, like we would like if we picked an area to go hunt and we weren't seeing animals, it's crazy. But I mean, there would be times that we would drive 2.5 hours, just get up super early and go cover country. Especially like in your situation, like when guys put all their eggs in one basket and go to, say private, and they're like, oh, okay, you're like, we're going to hunt here. And then after 2 days of hunting, you realize, man, I'm just not seeing, like, obviously, especially having a, uh, restriction on what you could shoot, not just being able to shoot a buck, sometimes you got to roll the dice and cover country, and leave. I mean, I know it's hard because you had a home base of, a house and everything else, but I know sometimes it's key to like, and this goes for anything in any state, if you're not seeing what you're after, move. Like we had talked about a couple podcasts before, it's like, you know, sometimes you got to drive 2 hours and it sucks, or try to find something closer, some, some public or something. Cause I mean, there's good bucks in Nebraska. I mean, they kill some pretty dang good bucks. It's a bummer deal when you have 8,000 acres and there's just not any big deer on there. And I'm assuming, I mean, how many days did you hunt? 5 days?
Yeah, 5 days with one
You
day of
could,
scouting.
yeah, you could scour 8,000 acres. It's not like I feel like you didn't leave any stone unturned. You know what I mean? Like you could on 8,000 acres, about 2 days and you pretty much kind of know what's there. I mean,
Well, in Nebraska, I mean, you could see from one side of the ranch to the other for the most part. I
right.
mean,
Yeah. The only thing that
those,
sucks too is you were just a little late for usually for the rut. That's usually about November 1st. Is usually when they tend to want to rut. So you were kind of in that like rut post rut activity, And who's to say? I mean, there could have been big bucks that came in there, and then eventually, they've already rutted and kind of pushed their does off, and you just kind of got left with whatever was, on the ranch, you know. But that's what sucks sometimes is going on those hunts. You know what I mean? Like especially when you have a certain amount of area to hunt, and only a small window.
yeah. But I mean, you look at the size of the property and you're like, okay, there's got to be something of
Right.
size here. Like, I mean, even if it's not a giant, there's got to be something out there. And
Yeah.
so we were looking for that something, and we ended up turning a decent. I think he was a nice 10-point buck. Um, I mean, bigger. I mean, he was kind of weak on the front. I mean, he was probably only maybe 130 inches. Like, and that was by far the biggest deer that we saw. We saw quite a few muleys, and they were 110 inches, 115 inches. Like they were just kind of, okay bucks, 18 inches wide, like
Right.
just, but they were 3x3s, or one of them was a 4x4. It looked like he had chipped off. And so, but I mean, golly, the size of the deer, like the actual body size is incredible. I mean, like I'm like, holy crap, like that's a big buck. And then I like start looking at his antlers and I'm like, oh, you're like only a 2-year-old buck or maybe 3 years old. Like,
Right.
what on earth?
Yeah, it's funny. Like when you get out of state, like it was funny. Like every year I would go out of state, I'd get done hunting, here, And then I'd get out of state and I'd be like, oh, stop, big deer. And then I'm like, oh, it's a doe, but I'm so used to seeing like 130-pound deer, it's like 100-pound deer, 90-pound deer. So then you see a, 150-pound doe and you're like, oh my gosh, or like a 300-pound, buck. You're like, holy cow, that's a giant. And then he's just got this tiny little rack on his head and you're like, oh, these deer are built different than ours.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you could tell they were bigger and they were a hell of a lot smarter. I mean, unbelievable, man. I mean, they would see us like we would be about like, let's say, a mile and a half from them, and they'd be like entering into the pivot or something like that, and we're off in the distance on the main road from the truck glassing, and it's like they'd see us and they just bolt, and you're like, we're like a mile and a half away. Like, what are you freaking out about?
Was it
And
windy?
sometime there was probably 2 days that it was pretty windy,
Did you notice when
but
it was real windy? Was that when they were pretty sketchy?
um, they were sketchy the whole time, dude.
The whitetail, was it the whitetails or all of them?
Yeah, oh, whitetail.
Yeah,
By far the
that's
whitetail.
the whitetails are just like that, dude. They're sketchy animals. You know what I mean? Like I know whitetail hunters get like a bad rap. You know what I mean? Like as far as like when I hear whitetail hunters, it's like, oh, I've hunted so hard. I'm like, he's setting a stand. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not putting them down. Obviously, their style of hunting is different than ours out west. But I noticed like hunting out, different states with whitetails, and man, those things are just they're sketchier than our blacktails.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I mean, they just are just the most nervous deer. It's like you pull up, like you said, a mile away, and you just start looking at them, and then all of a sudden you just see all those white flags bouncing through the field, and out they go. And they're just tails up, and then they all go, and you're like, dude. I give it hats off to the guys that hunt whitetails. I mean, you got to really be mindful of your scent and wind and their hearing and everything else. You know,
Yeah. I mean, we tried a whole bunch of different tactics too to like, figure them out. It wasn't just my traditional spot and stock. I mean, we had a
right?
couple. We were hunting the mule deer first, so we tried that, but it was in such open field and open country. I mean, it was very hard to hunt unless you were just going to sit and wait all day. And with the three of us, um, it just really wasn't possible. I was going to try to have my fiance film it, but it was so cold the battery would die in 10 minutes.
Oh
It was
wow,
it was that cold, and so she's like, "What do you want me to do? Like, you have 5 batteries," and I'm like, "Just take a couple pictures if you can. Like, use your
yep.
phone. Like, this is we're here to hunt, not necessarily get the video." So we tried the spot and stalk. We tried, ambush style. We tried rattling. Did that rattling. We found a spot where we just kept seeing these whitetails cross, and so I was like, all right, well, let's spend like a couple hours sitting in here around that time, and every like 30 minutes or so, I'd give it a good 2 minute shake, rattle, nothing, and it's like, all right, we'll come back, and we just see him around periodically, and then I had a couple opportunities. One was my first opportunity was not a great opportunity. It was kind of cutting across just a little bit out of range. I think it was around that 150, 180 yard shot, which for my muzzleloader, I had it sighted in at 100, which is not that big of a difference, but I don't know. I don't know if it was me or if it was the gun. I felt, semi confident enough to take the shot, but like when I shot, like I knew I didn't hit. And he was kind of on the run. He knew where I was at the entire time. And I just kind of let it in front of him and gave him a whack and nothing. And he wasn't much more than a, you know, little 3x3 whitetail. And then kind of had another opportunity that I messed up. There was a fence that I was hiding behind. And when I approached the fence, that buck was on the other side of it. And I just approached too quickly. And so that was kind of a big learning experience for me because like I knew that buck was right over there. And so when I approached, I had expected it to be not where it was.
Right.
And it was right in that gap. So I just Dude, it was a bummer. It was a bummer.
Well, I think a lot of people make those. I've made those mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, especially you're getting towards the end of your hunt, you start getting aggressive, and you're like, all right, I got to kill a buck. I got to kill a buck. So you start you probably you come in with your guns ablazing, and you're trying to cut the distance, especially with a muzzleloader, trying to get within 100 to 150 yards. And it's like sometimes you got to stop and go, okay, just be patient, or if he's behind the fence or whatever, or if he's behind some kind of rock or tree or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, get yourself in a position to let him come out on his own. You know what I mean? Like, that way the ball's in your court all the time. That's a good indication for anybody that listens to this podcast. Like, in those situations, like if you're hunting something, there's a deer there, like, and I've made these mistakes. I still make these mistakes all the time, is where I get too aggressive and then I blow them out, and I've had to learn how to be really, really patient and just trust the process that they're going to make a mistake, and then he'll, eventually feed out or move out, and then shoot him, but like your mind though is like, I got to get closer. And then you get within 100 yards, and then guys will sit there and be like, man, if I close another 30 distant, like 30 yards, like 30 more yards, like I can close that gap and I can get to 70 and then I got him, it's like, just stay where you're at, let them make that mistake.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. And I was very frustrated at that point. We hadn't seen anything. And then all of a sudden this buck is in the best possible spot for me to take a shot. And I just got way too excited. my buddy was just like, dude, like, just calm down. Like, everything's all right. Like, just slow it down. He's like, I know you're stressed, because we were all stressed. Like, my fiance, she would be just hanging out at the house, and she'd be just like, you guys seeing anything? No. She's like, oh my gosh, like, when are we going to get out of here? It's too dang cold. Like, and so then I just felt like I was just wasting people's time. And, I had all these factors in the back of my head, though neither one of them really cared. I still bared that weight of, like, we kind of expected this to be like a 3-4 day trip, and then we would be headed back. We didn't think we were going to stay the 5 days. And then, came down to it, and it's like, hey, like, I don't know what else to do, man. Like, we got to just keep going. We're already out here. Keep trying.
Yeah. And I used to do the same thing that that you're talking about. Like, I'd go on these hunts and I'd have these expectations of, like, I'm going to shoot the biggest buck I can find in whatever state I'm at, or whatever, or even hunting at home here in California. And, one thing that's helped me over the years now, as I've gotten older, is dude, I go those trips now with zero expectations, and just to go have fun. And, it is what it is. And it's okay to come home with a tag. I know a lot of times, I mean, obviously you were wanting the meat for your wedding, but you start putting a lot of added pressure, and then that's when you make mistakes. And I used to do that a lot. Like, when I was in my 20s, like, and obviously you're spending money to go out of state. So, like, it's a lot of money for most people. And so it's like, you have that in the back of your head. It's like, okay, well, I've already spent, a few $1,000s to get here. Like, I want to bring home something. Then on your situation, it's like, then you have 2 other people that don't have a tag that are just there to help you. And then you get that on your head. But sometimes you just got to block that out and just be like, I'm just going to go have fun. And usually when you do that, and you can go in with a relaxed mindset, I've noticed, like, things just kind of happen organically, which works out great.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely saw like at least 1 3x3 a day. And, that was the tricky part, is just getting close to it. And I don't know.
Did you go tear down all that guy's fences? I mean, obviously, I guess the biggest buck he had died because of a fence. I would have tore all the fences down.
They actually took that fence down. And it was a nice buck. We got to see the dead head of it. And it was probably about 185 inch buck.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It was a good
buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a state that you'd go back to?
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the thing that Matt and I were talking about. He was like, I have no interest. And I was like, yeah, like, I understand that. for me, I think I would, just because like kind of like I want that like revenge tour kind of thing. Like I can do this. Like I know I
Right.
can.
You want
And
to
now that
conquer it.
now that I figured out what that property does, like how those deer work, when it was windy, where those deer were traveling through, they really focused on those draws, especially one that was like actually pretty close to the house, which made it easy. We would just walk out, walk a couple hundred yards, set up, and kind of wait for them to start moving. And that, I mean, dude, right there, I mean, I sat on on top of this hill that overlooked this trail, and I was probably a good, I don't know, 30, 40 feet above the trail. And I had a group of like 7 does come walking right underneath me. And, I'm all set up, like just waiting for a buck to hopefully come out. And nothing ever showed, obviously, but it was, uh, it was just cool to like, I went, oh, this is a good spot. I need to remember this spot. And so I marked it, and I was like, the trail goes right underneath me. And then, we found another spot closer down to the creeks. And I was like, okay, this is where that big buck was hanging out in this brush pile. Marked that. And then there's another spot over here, marked that. So now I kind of like, I know where the mule deer hang out. I know where the whitetails were kind of going and how they were traveling, and, you know, what things were doing what at certain times. So I'm pretty confident that I can go back there and get something.
Right. Well, knowing half's the battle. You know what I mean? Like, if you know how a piece of property hunts, or, you know, whether that's public or private, you know what I mean? Like, that's key. Like, now if you go back, like, now you have starting points, you know what I mean? You kind of have an idea of where the deer are traveling, where they're bedding, where they're going to get food, and then you can capitalize a little easier on them. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to figure it out in the last 5 days of hunting, because every day is a new day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, we had one day, I think one day that was actually pretty warm. And so those deer just, I mean, as soon as it hit about like 8:30, I mean, they were gone. You did
They're
not
bedded,
see a
yeah.
single one for the rest of the day. And I knew that was going to happen. And when I looked at the forecast, I was like, all right, like it's going to be hard. And then the wind was like the next day. So then we knew that they were going to be bedded down. And right when the wind stopped, and kind of right in that evening feeding time, I mean, we were watching the hole where we kind of knew those deer were at. And I mean, they just started piling out. I mean, 30 deer came out of this one hole. And there was, I think, 3 mule deer bucks. And those were they were two of them I would have shot if had the opportunity, but they were right on the border of the neighbor's property. And so they just fed the
Yeah.
wrong way. And I was like, gosh, dang, man.
Yeah, I would have went and knocked on the neighbor's door and be like, "Hey, can I go shoot a buck?"
Yeah, well, I almost did. And so this was the funny part. I mean, that gentleman had a couple hundred acres. So he had plenty of hunting ground. And I was talking with the ranch manager of the ranch that I was hunting. And he was like, dude, that rancher has all of his like veteran buddies come out, and they killed 43 coyotes in 2 nights or something like that, like a couple weeks prior. And
Holy cow!
I'm like 43? That's insane, man. I mean, like you really need to kill 300 in order to make a dent in that area. I mean, it was
Yeah.
unbelievable. We saw 12 coyotes in under an hour one morning. And then I think we finished off the day with like 20 something, and we were hearing the coyote packs howling in different areas off the property while we were
Jeez.
watching. I mean, it was unbelievable. It's like they have a serious problem going on. Serious problem.
Sounds like we need to go to Nebraska and do some coyote hunting.
Coyote hunting and then the goose hunting, dude. Unbelievable.
Really?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There were thousands and thousands of birds flying over us and like landing on his property all over the
Oh,
place.
wow.
All over the place. In his field, on like the creek and river stuff. And like, dude, it was like every bend you'd turn around. Like, I mean, there'd just be, groups of just 200 birds, 200 birds, 200 birds, and then just stuff flying right over you. And I'm like, yo, this is wild. Like that, I would go back just to. I
That
got
sounds
some,
fun.
we got some buddies, some connections in Nebraska with some big waterfowl guys, and that would be fun because it would suck to drive all the stuff out, and so to link up with them,
Oh
have them
yeah,
bring all their stuff, and we just fly in. I mean, that's an easy trip.
yeah.
Easy trip.
Because
I'd do that in a
I know
heartbeat.
nothing about waterfowl. Like
Really,
no.
did not know that.
I did it when I was in my 20s, and I was hunting a refuge, and my buddy and I shot our birds. We shot our limit, and we were done by like 7:30. And I told him, I was like, I'm done. He's like, yeah, I'm pretty tired too. I go, no, I think I'm done duck hunting. And he's like, what? I'm like, just getting up at midnight and driving in the fog and waiting in line and then running and like jockeying to get to your spot and like throwing out decoys and sitting in the water. I was like, not for me. I was
You're up.
like,
You're up 7 hours before the birds even fly,
yeah,
and
yeah. And then you shoot like three birds, and I'm like, well, this is not that fun, I mean, I would do the goose, you know what I mean? Like go like goose hunting or whatever. Like that seems fun to me. You know what I mean? But like the sitting in a cold water for a teal, I'm like, nah. I'd rather go sit in the cold and have a chance of shooting a deer. And nothing
I'm the
against
same way.
waterfowlers. Yeah,
I'm the same way. I like going out like once or twice just to go with some buddies and
right.
mostly just bring my camera and start filming and taking some photos. But other than that, like I don't really have that much of an interest in it.
Yeah, yeah. It just seems like so. Like, I mean, obviously, that being a new terrain to you, like, what was some of the thing like? What are some of the things that you realized that like you struggled on really bad that you just maybe haven't had before? Especially you being fairly new to hunting and like,
I definitely my patience or with in the stalking situation, mainly that one opportunity is
right,
kind of the one. Everything else, like I really took my time. I had one other last hour stalk of my entire trip, and I took my absolute sweet time, and it was drew up perfectly. But that buck, where I left him, which was in the bottom of the canyon, he had moved all the way up and came up to the top of the hill. He was kind of like bedded down and then stand up, and he would be feeding around in the bottom. And then I was like, all right, he's like hanging out there, and he'd been there for a while. It gave me an opportunity to kind of make a pursuit on the hill above him. So I army crawled like probably 150 yards, and then came looking down on top of him, and I'm looking glass, and I'm like, I don't see him anywhere. And I had like 5-10 minutes left of light left, and he's standing up on top of the ridge and just staring at me. And I was like,
mm,
man, I mean, like I took my time. He just did what deer do. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. He just moved,
yeah.
and I had no more time, so I just kind of just yeah, he won.
In that situation, it's funny that you mentioned that situation because I've had hunters that have like I've noticed like but guiding has helped me out tremendously, knowing like the mannerisms of animals and like how they act and like when I could like when they're going to be there for a while or like I've just seen so many different scenarios play out that now I've gotten it figured out and it makes it nice. So like in those situations, like if I see a deer in that situation and he's getting up and he's bedding back down, he gets up and he's feeding and it's getting towards evening time, he's getting restless. Like he's going to get up out of his bed and eventually he's going to feed off for the night. So in those situations, like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just like if he can't see me and I got good wind, I'll like boogie in there quickly. And then knowing that I'm going to like peek over the edge, like that's before I peek over the edge, then I'll get down low and crawl in there. Cause like, I think a lot of times what guys will do is they think like, I mean, I'm going to sneak in there real slow. And then, you know what I mean? Like, but if like, okay, like that buck's bedded there, he's in a second bed and say like it's, you know, 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, you know he's going to be there all day, so you have more than enough time to like sneak in there. But in like those evening times, man, those like especially when you see a buck starting to get restless and he's getting up and he's circling his bed and he's laying back down and he gets back up and he starts feeding and then he lays back down and he gets up and he's like moving around. He's getting ready to get up and move. And like another good indication too is like if you're ever in that situation again where you sneak in on there and he's bedded and you're waiting for him to stand up, if you start to see him get real restless, like where he's moving his head a lot, he's moving his feet, and he's like kind of repositioning himself, and he kind of like he's just getting restless, be ready because he's going to stand. You know, he may only stand up and turn and lay back down. I've had that happen a lot, dude, where they'll stand up and you turn, and they just lay back down. You're like, well, I'm going to be here for 3 hours, like more, you know. But yeah, in those situations, like I think a lot of guys make mistakes of like thinking that they could just like, man, I gotta be stealthy, and so like they'll go in there real slow, you know. And if they can't see you, and you know it's like evening time, and you know they're going to get up, you can get away with a lot of stuff. I mean, don't skyline yourself, but if you got to cover a lot of country quickly, especially with like a muzzleloader or archery, like you can, as long as they can't see you, and you got good topography in between you and them, like just jam in there quickly. You know what I mean? And then that last, you know, say 100 yards or, 50 yards or whatever it may be, then you might want to like crawl quickly on your, and then when you get right before you peek over, then belly crawl. You know what I mean? Just so that you can cut the distance a little bit and quicker, you know what I mean? And that gives yourself like, because in that situation, like you could have got there maybe a minute or two earlier and he would have been like 80 yards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you could have
an important detail to that story was there were a lot of deer in that hole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I really couldn't get to that. There was the big buck actually came out to my left right past where I had been right before I came up to the hill to start my pursuit. And I looked down the hill and he's not running, but he is moving. And I'm like, he's gone. Like I'm not even going to attempt to pursue him. You know, he's crossing the middle of the drainage. Like he's going to see me, like focus on the deer that I know. And when I crested to go put a pursuit on that buck that I'm talking about, there was another buck at eye level above where that deer was, where he then moved up to see me. Oh. And we had does all over the place. And I was like, I was pinned. And I had just, I'm looking at my watch going, hopefully something works out.
Right. If you go back, are you going to do rifle?
I'd love to. I mean, it all depends on if someone's there hunting rifle, because he has some people like sometimes lease it out or something like that. I guess this was the first year of that. So if nobody does, then maybe I'll ask for that. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, that seems like you learned a lot on this trip. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, what are some of the things you like, the differences and the similarities between like where you hunt here at home compared to there?
I guess there, we were seeing deer, so that was a plus.
Right.
Knowing that there was a chance for an opportunity every single day was great to know that there was, something out there. Just how to find it. I don't know, man. It was hard. It was hard hunting. I mean, it was definitely not easy. I mean, granted, the terrain's still different, but out here, it's still not easy. And hunting on the ranch, like, it takes time to figure those routines out that I get to observe year round. And that's what makes it a little bit easier for me to finally come when season comes. Like I know what they're doing because I've been spending, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours glassing, driving around, setting up cameras and scouting. And that's kind of what I ended up having to do with this hunt is, spend a lot of time trying to figure things out and putting in that time. But now that I know, like I'm very confident I can go back to that property and kill something. I know that doesn't directly answer your question. But I just learned a lot this year, and just in general,
Right.
it was definitely not the year I had hoped for. A lot of ups and downs, more downs than ups, obviously, as you know, from both personal and my hunting stuff. So yeah, it was full of lessons.
And
Humbling, very
2025
humbling.
was a humbling season for you.
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's the more you do this, the more you're going to have humbling seasons. That would and when you don't, and you have those seasons that are just like the storybook seasons, like it makes you appreciate like those seasons where you're just like, no matter what you did, that you just did nothing wrong. Like you just went out, killed a buck, went out, killed another buck, killed a bear, killed some pigs. You know, go out of state, kill buck, kill an elk. You're like, man, I'm the
This is
best hunter in the
easy.
world. Yeah, like I got this figured out. And then you go out the next year and you're like, nope, I don't. Like, nope. It's just, and everybody I talked to this year, I mean, that hunted Colorado or Alaska or Nebraska or Montana or anywhere was just like, man, dude, like the rut was just weird. It was like sporadic. Like it was like some places were on fire and some places were not, just kind of depended on where you were at, you know, seasonably warm.
Yeah,
Just was just not an ideal year, you
yeah.
know.
The area that I was hunting in, the rancher, he had went out there to go, with his wife and take a look at some deer and try to see if he could get one. And he said it wasn't on fire. Like they just weren't. There wasn't that many deer. They weren't running around like crazy. Like, and I'm like, really, that's odd. And so I followed the Nebraska Facebook group or whatever it is, and everybody was saying like, is it the rut right now? Like, is anybody seeing like deer rutting? Like, it's so warm. Like, and I think that they kind of, I mean, they were just rutting at night. I mean, that's really what was happening.
Right.
And we saw evidence of the rut when we got there with that really big cold snap. I think that really shocked them into things, but it was just unfortunate that it didn't stay quite that cold. I mean, those first 2 days were great. Our scouting day was the best day. It would have been the
Figures.
best day, yeah, to hunt because we saw everything moving. And then the next day was still cold, but just not quite as cold. And I think, for whatever reason, it really started to die off real fast after that second, third day that we were there.
I've had those hunts. I've gone to places where, you have like the perfect storm and everything's rutting and the weather's perfect. And then I've had it where you get there and it's perfect and then it gets hot and then everything just dies off and you're like, man, this is going to be a rough hunt. And then especially for you, like not being able to move, you were just kind of stuck to the 8,000 acres. That kind of goes back to what we had talked about in one of our previous podcasts between private and public. You know what I mean? And some guys don't realize this. If the hunting sucks within the boundaries of what you can hunt, you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
And, guys would be like, well, you went to private. Like, how come you didn't kill a big one? It's like, well, because there wasn't a big one on there. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it is what it is at that point. And then you're kind of hunting the same bucks. So then you got to figure out, okay, well, what's the best buck that I got on here, And it might be a 15-inch 3-point.
That would have
Sounds
been
like
that would have been a really nice buck, man. I'm telling you, that would have been a great buck.
That's hilarious. But
Yeah,
before you left, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, like 8,000 acres, like it's private, doesn't really get hunted. Like, I was even like, man, dude, like he's gonna hit the Mecca, and there's gonna be giant bucks everywhere. I
you
don't know
never
if
know.
maybe because coyotes are,
It's
honey,
100% coyotes.
yeah,
I can tell you right now, like there were so many coyotes. Like I've never seen anything like that in my life. And like
that's
Matt
crazy.
was just like, dude, this is bad. Like this is like sad bad because that's just destroying everything.
Yeah,
Everything. Like who cares about the hunters at that point? I bring more hunters in I mean, seriously, like kill
right.
those things. But then, I come home and my first day back, I end up finding, a really nice, like 155, 160 inch 4x4. And I'm like, where was that over there?
Right?
Like, you know what I mean?
Where was
Like,
that during the general season?
where was he exactly? And dude,
Yeah,
like, do you not think that that is that same buck that I sent you
that's
from the, from
100%
the,
the same buck.
from
He really
last year?
hasn't, and he hasn't really changed.
He got a little bit, I think his base has got a little bigger. He got a little,
He's heavier, but he's
he's
got
definitely
same
heavier.
frame, same forks, same genetics. I mean, same everything. I mean, he's not. That's the same buck. It's crazy. Like that's just where he shows up in ruts. But like, where
So,
does he go during the general season?
So have you? We're gonna stay on the topic of deer, but kind of change the location a little bit. But like, have you noticed that a lot of deer rut in the same areas every single year? Like, can you find them consistently in those areas if you've seen them there in the past? Like,
Yeah, yeah, especially deer that like the lower country bucks. You know what I mean? Like deer that don't normally migrate. Like I'll see the same bucks throughout this. Every year come. That's I'm like, oh, I saw that buck last year. You know, and then obviously I'll see new bucks file in. It just it depends on like like where they're at and like how many deer there are. You know what I mean? Like if there's not a lot of high density of deer, like deer will travel 20 miles and to go look for does. Like a buck. So, but I've noticed like the coastal range, like where they don't migrate at all. Like I've seen the same buck every year. Like he'll just show up during the rut. Like when I leased a ranch over on the coast, like during the rut, I would always see like after the season or whatever, and I'd start guiding there on the ranch. Like I would see like the same buck every year. Like he would just show up, and I'm like, God, where is this buck coming from? And he was just every year. And he showed up for like 4 years in a row, and then I just never. Then after that, I never saw him again. So I don't know if lion killed him or died of old age, or a neighbor finally saw him and shot him. But yeah, no, like we would just get the same bucks that would show up every year.
I
For the
think
most part.
I think we get a lot of those. Like, I
Yeah,
think my ranch gets a lot of them because
yeah.
every single year, like, I've been able to watch a couple of these bucks. That one, and then another one that I am convinced was killed by a friend of mine. He killed it 15 miles away from the ranch, kind of up the hill a little ways, and he sent me the picture. The second he shot it, sends me the picture, and I'm like, "Were you hunting the border of the ranch? Like, where did you kill that thing?" And he's like, "No, I killed it on da da da." And I'm like, "Dude, that buck lives on my ranch during the winter. So
It's crazy.
either he was coming down from wherever he was living, maybe he was living there,
Yeah.
and it's like he just comes to the ranch exactly right after season because I kid you not, for the last 3 years I've been watching that buck and he's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and then he kills him and he's a stud, and I'm like, dude, what on earth? Like, I've been looking
hmm
for that thing.
Well, and that just goes to show you like how far they'll travel. Like I just said, like they'll go 20 miles looking for does. He's 15 miles from you. You know what I mean? Like
That's nothing for them too.
no, they could do that in a day. They could do that in a half a day, a few hours. You know what I mean? Especially if they're going downhill. You know what I mean? Like they just go and they won't stop. Like I know, was it last year? Last year, those ranches that I had. Last year was the first year I didn't hunt them or whatever, and there was new guys that had it or whatever. But the ranch I had was probably like 10 miles down the road. They had a picture of a 4x3 on a trough, and they all had decided like that buck they were going to leave to let get bigger. And then he got shot on a lease that I had like 10 miles down the road by another guy that was not on that property and shot him. But he was going from that ranch all the way over to the other ranch to get water and then walking back. Crazy.
That's insane, man.
Yeah. And that just goes to show you, like, all those years, I'd be like, what? I don't understand, like, how I can't find this deer. You know what I mean? Like, and then I started, one day it just finally clicked. I'm like, these bucks are going far for water. You know what I mean? Like, he's coming in at night and turn around and headed all the way back wherever he was going. You know? That's why, like I was telling you, like in your situation, it's like you get that mindset of what you see in the rut, I mean, you can't think that way during the general season.
Yeah, I've had a couple bucks that, when I first started, that like they'll knock your socks off, and that's what I've seen. November
Yeah.
12th or whatever
Yeah.
it is, and it's like he could be at the ranch though, and it's right on that border of like, are you here or are you not here?
Right.
When it's turned on, and man, dude, it's oh man, there's some. If I ever see anything like that again, I hope to get a picture of it to show you, because they're
I don't know
pretty
that
impressive.
foghorn you posted the other day. That'd be a hard one. Not I would shoot that deer right now. I just something about big foghorns. But I'm a coast guy, so like for me, like big foghorns, I'm like, oh man, dude,
No, he's a
like
stud. He's
that
so
thing's a
cool.
giant.
But see, then this is the other thing about that deer, because I've never seen that buck before. Granted, probably migrated in, maybe didn't, because I have seen a giant forked horn like that one uh, last year during season, and he was on our neighbor's property, just mile, 2 miles away, whatever it was. And I was hunting that buck. I think could have been him on the neighbor's place with some buddies, and I'm like,
Mm,
dude, that's a giant. And so
yeah. Oh,
maybe
dude, he's big,
he's a stud. I mean, what do you think? He's 27 wide, easily.
easily. Like,
Easily
dude,
he
that buck
could
was big.
he could be pushing 28, 29.
He was. When I saw him, I'm like, holy shit. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a freaking giant, dude. Like, I mean, that buck I was looking for at Tajon on that management hunt. I mean, he wasn't that wide, but I mean, built the same way. It's just like a big foghorn, man. Like, they exist. Like that's a lot of my buddies. That's their dream buck right there,
Yeah, I mean, heck, I'd shoot that thing in a heartbeat.
right?
Yeah,
It's
I
got to be a
would.
bummer
He's so
feeling.
cool.
Yeah, it's got to be a bummer feeling to go all the way to Nebraska and then you come back and you're like, God dang it,
Oh,
I've seen bigger bucks in my backyard.
yeah, I really have, and that's
Right?
that's the
Yeah.
bummer part, man.
Yeah. I know, dude.
Uh,
Like, I was looking at your post the other day. I was like, God dang, dude, you post big old bucks, big old giant pigs. I was just like, good
and then I
God.
found the bear
And then
that yesterday morning.
you guys ended up not being able to kill him.
So literally, we get up to the glassing spot on that ledge, and I'm just waiting for the sun to kind of rise. So we were just sitting there for a couple minutes, and it starts to get to be right when you can start to see, and I see a black dot, and I go, I bet this is the bear. Because my fiance was telling me, like, why are you bringing a rifle if we're just going to go look for deer? I'm like, there's a bear down here. One of the cowboys told me. And she's like, oh, of course there is. We go up there, and that's the first thing I see. Bear walking right down the middle. And I'm like, all right, let's sit here and watch him. And he walked into the brush and never saw him again. Kind of sat there for probably another hour and a half or so and never saw anything. And I was like, you know what? Like, what we got today? Let's just go on a hike. So we grabbed the side by side. We just looped around, went down there, and kind of just walked it. There was a bunch of fresh tracks. And as we were going, the wind's in our face, we're just moving up. And then, the wind shifted on us, and it just started blowing the wrong way up towards where I thought he was going. So I decided to pull back because I didn't want to blow him out of the country, and the chances that we were going to find him in those circumstances, only seeing him one time, is
Right.
not great. So I was like, it's all good. And we ended up trying to get on some pigs, and they evaded us out of her comfortability. They're too high on the hill.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, okay, let's hike higher.
Yeah. We'll just go a little higher.
No, we don't want to do that. There's something blowing. So there were deer between us and the pigs, and
Oh,
the does are going. And she's like, "Is that a bear?" I'm like, "No, those are deer. We're not going up there." I'm
yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, come on, it's okay. We have guns. You have a rifle. I have a rifle. Like,
Yeah,
and if it is a
we're
bear, if it is a bear,
I'm going to shoot
we
it.
can shoot it."
Yeah. I know that's like me the other day. I was guiding some pig hunters on Tajon, and I come around the corner and I was like, oh, look at the size of that boar. And then I'm like, oh, it's a bear. I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, hey, have you guys got a bear tag? They're all, no. I'm like, dang it, dude. Like, probably, I don't know, 300-pound, 400-pound bear, 200 yards, just standing in the road, just standing
That's a
there.
giant. That's a
Oh, yeah, he
giant
was
bear.
giant bear. And I was just like, oh, my gosh. I'm like, dude. You know what's funny is I've been guiding there for 3 years now. Well, 3 seasons, two full years, I guess. And that's the first bear I've ever seen on there. I get clients all the time. Like, you ever see bears in here? Well, never. I've never seen a bear. I was like, but I'm not really looking for them, you know? And then just so happened there was a bear. I was like, no freaking way. And then, of course, nobody has a tag. And I'm like, well,
I do.
yeah, I know. I'd be like, hey, I wish I had a bear tag. Like, hand me your rifle. Your pig hunt's going to go on pause right now. But you know how that goes. I end up shooting that bear, and then they're not getting the pig, and then they're just going to be like, you know,
We
well,
paid
your
you to
bear
go.
hunt,
You go hunt.
right? Yeah, yeah. Welcome to being a life of a guide.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, dude, there's just so much to learn about those different properties, and I think honestly, like the scouting is like the biggest thing, and just knowing your property and just trying to
Yeah,
figure it out, whether it's in another state. Those couple days to like learn it were crucial. I don't have the time that I do here at the ranch in California. And if I did, I'd probably be able to kill a nice buck. I almost guarantee it. Like you can kill a nice buck on that ranch, even though the size is not up to where we would want to really hunt it.
well, and you can't take you know like your buddy Matt was like, I have no desire to come back, and I'm not knocking Matt. You know what I mean? But you can't like, and this is what I was telling people before. Like when you go somewhere, whether that be out of state or here at home, like just take a guy that goes up to his own, gets an over the counter tag here in California. He goes for 5 days a year. He takes a week off of work and goes hunts. And goes and does that 2 years in a row and goes, well, I'm giving up on hunting because I just, I don't ever see any deer. It's like, well, think about it. You only hunted 10 days. You know what I mean? Like you really haven't given yourself that much time. You know what I mean? Like, so in that situation, like I think you're making the right decision of being like, all right, I have a vendetta. Like I've got it figured out. Like I'm going to go back and give it, a valiant effort. You know what I mean? And then there are 2 or 3 more times you go back, like then you can make that decision to say, nah, it's cool. It's private, but there's just not very many big bucks on it. Like,
Yeah,
there's an
if I went back
occasion.
and I just couldn't make it happen, and I wasn't
Right.
seeing anything that was really worth it, then I'd probably go, you know what? Maybe I come back for some coyote and goose hunting
Yeah.
because that will be off the charts.
Right.
And they've got some turkeys too, which is cool, but I'm sure they're hammered by the coyotes.
Yeah.
So
They have the Merriams.
that's a good question. I think they might be Rios in that area.
Mm.
I hope, and maybe, yeah, I hope they're Miriams. That would be cool. Have you shot a Miriam?
I have on Tejon. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Right
hey,
on.
dude, for you there, you go back out there and go get a Merriam.
I got one in Utah.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yep,
sweet.
I've so yeah, I did. I got one on my buddy's place out there. Um, yeah, I got that. What 2 years ago now? So I've done that one. I got my Rio. I have yet to go out eastern uh, turkey hunting, and then we we got a spot that my dad's buddies got in Florida. So I'm hoping to be able to go out and get that Osceola, which will be freaking awesome.
Oh, I'm jealous,
Yeah, yeah.
dude. I never thought about doing a turkey slam, but I think
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna end up
am.
doing it. I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah, I'm.
Our lease down in Mexico has ghouls on it,
Well, then I'm
and
going with you guys.
yep,
I'm gonna go out there, and I need to get the Gould. I've got, the guys from the hunting public. They're coming out to the ranch for opening weekend of turkey season for here in California. So
oh,
I've
that's gonna
got,
be a good one.
yeah. So I got a couple guys that are coming out from that group, and then yeah, we're gonna go kill some birds, get some cool video stuff. So I'm really excited about that.
That's going to be a
So
fun hunt.
yeah,
Those
that's
guys
gonna be fun.
are legit turkey hunters too. Like those guys are diehard turkey hunters.
I don't think there's like at least anybody else better in the business with the filming aspect and turkey hunting.
No. And
Like,
when those guys come to California to go hunt turkeys, it's just going to blow their mind on your place. Like they're going to
yeah.
be like mind blown.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that, honestly, because I don't want the hunt to end in 5 minutes.
Well, just take them around and make it a hunt. Like, just take them places you know you're not going to see birds for a while.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, is there any birds here? It's like, well, you got to hunt for them. They're hard, you know?
Oh man, it'd be hard to get there because you just hear gobbles all the way down the road.
Oh,
They're
I
like, why,
know.
why are we driving past them?
They take them to some of the places I go. They'd be like, oh, this is hard hunting, you know?
Yeah, those
But,
birds, man. You were telling me about that, just how pressured those things can be.
oh, yeah, it's crazy. Like, towards the end of the season, man, those birds just shut up and do not talk, you know? And, like, even I just did that turkey hunt a couple weekends ago, you know, and obviously doing fall turkey hunt, that's hard. You know, they just don't talk. I did call in a bunch of birds, uh, which my buddy that was with me, like we called in a bunch of hens, and there was a hen in there with like a 9-inch beard, dude, like heavy beard. We had her at like 10 yards.
You didn't want to shoot her?
Yeah, dude, he was going to, but there was so many birds, he couldn't move. They were like looking at us and trying to figure out what we were. Because I was just doing like I was doing like a little whine and whistles and like little purrs and stuff and mimicking what they were doing. And those birds turned and came right to us. And then I was like, hey, to your left. And when he turned, there was two birds, but there was the one on the right. And I said, the one on the right, just left edge of the tree. And then right when he got on it, she walked behind the tree and then over the hill and was gone. We're like, oh, and I was like, well, let's not pressure him. Let's, if we need him, which ended up working out fine. He killed a really nice, I mean, we killed 3 longbeards, you know, but those are see him, take off running, get out way out in front of them. And if they, you know, walk by you, then you shoot them.
Wait, yeah. So, like, how did you guys do this? Like, you literally just saw them from a distance and then like looped them and try to get in front of where you thought they were gonna walk?
Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah. And it worked out Friday night. We found like, I don't know, like I think 7 or 8 toms in a group. And we were able to drive around on them and then get above them. And they kind of just worked their way up this draw and they came right out. And my buddy shot one and then went out the next day and didn't see any birds. And then it was like 11 o'clock in the afternoon and we saw 6 toms together. And one of my buddies was like, oh, get out, get out. I said, well, just wait. Let them go behind this bush. And they got behind this big bush. And I told my other buddy, Nathan, I was like, run with me, like right now. And we just took off running and it worked out perfect. We got up to that bush and they walked out at like 35 yards. And the big one was right in the middle. And I go, right in the middle, Nathan. He's like, I can't see him. I go, lean out. He leans out, pow, drops that one. And then I gobbled and they like stopped for like a half a second. I just poof. And I shot one. We doubled up.
Wow, right on, dude.
Yeah. And I shoot that Carlson Belson long range turkey choke with those 3.5-inch number 7 TSSs.
Damn.
That's a deadly duo. You
can shoot 100 yards.
Oh yeah. Dude, every bird I've ever shot with that thing, dude, has died. Like they don't flop or twitch or kick or bounce around. Like it just stones them dead. Like it's just, I mean, when I shot that bird, it just like blew backwards and did a flip, and that was it. Like, and
3.5 is big, dude.
Yeah,
that's a big TSS round.
Nathan shoots an over and under with just the top is a full choke, and that boy can shoot, dude. I've guided him twice now on turkeys, and both times, dude, like he's quick draw McGraw, but he hunts turkeys a lot, so he's just good at like pulling up and just boom, shooting them real fast.
Now, where do you aim? Where do you aim?
I aim right where the feathers meet the neck.
Yeah.
And, you know, that way, if you shoot a little high, you're still going to hit him in the head. And if you're not, you're going to hit him right in the neck. And usually it takes everything. And then usually you'll get a lot of BBs like up in the shoulder area. And that usually just like that, they're dead.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So, well, it seems like 2025 was quite the ups and downs for you this year in the woods.
Yeah, it was. It was, but it is what it is, man. It's called
That's
hunting for
hunting.
a reason.
That's why we do it.
Exactly. If I was successful with every single hunt every single time, probably wouldn't be that fun.
No. Like I said, I mean, this year, that buck I shot in Alaska was the first buck I've killed out of state since 2014. So it's been 11 years, So, it's just goes to show not everybody, we don't always kill animals,
Yeah.
But this is why we do it. Just chasing the dragon.
Yep. Exactly. So, awesome, man. Well, look forward to next week's podcast.
Yep.
All righty. Thank you guys for listening.
See ya.